I'm in Locust Grove, Virginia, and this is the Fort Germanna Visitor Center. There's my little red car. Most of the hiking in Virginia is shut down because of the coronavirus lockdown. But I'm going to go down this way. I checked their website, and these trails, they say, are open. These trails are hiking trails along the Rapidan River here. So I'm going to head over this way and see if I can find the red trail, and we'll take a little hike along the river today. Okay, so here's the beginning of the red trail. That says red trail, and we're going to head down this way, and there's my car back up there. So you come out of your car and you just head straight on down this way, and I got to read this little sign and see what it says. Three-tenths of a mile into my hike. I'm hiking the red trail and down to the Rapidan River. That's looking downstream. So we're going to continue on along the red trail this way. Here's what the trail looks like walking along it. We're following along the bank of the Rapidan. There's the river right there. When I first got onto the trail, there was actually quite a few people, so you have to kind of keep your distance. But now that I'm down the trail a little ways, there's nobody here. Let's see if I can do this left-handed. I'm 6/10 of a mile into my hike so far. But anyway, when summer gets going a little more, this is going to be pretty overgrown unless more people come through here to trample it down. Another shot of the Rapidan right there. 1.1 miles into my hike, and the trail's taking a turn to the left, and it looks like we're going to be climbing up this bluff here and hiking along there for a ways. .5 miles into my hike, and we've gone from, once I climbed up on that bluff, things changed from being real flat to pretty hilly here. So, some different terrain. There's where I came from. And heading down this way and then up the next hill. .2 miles into my hike, and this is the intersection with Route 601. I'm going to turn to the right and head this way for a short distance to see if I can find the old foundation of an Airway beacon from the 1930s. It should be down this way if it's still here. Okay, so out there's Route 601, and here's the concrete pad. This is what's left of the aircraft beacon, Locust Grove aircraft beacon. I'll explain more about it when I do the map talk. Was probably dates back into the 1930s. These were aircraft beacons that were located all over the country to guide airplanes before they had precision navigation from GPS, and it was even before the radio beacons. So there's I don't see anything of the foundation left other than the concrete pad here. 4.3 miles into my hike. That's where I came from. And the parking lot's just up that hill. But before I go back to my car, I'm going to follow this section of the road on around and underneath the Route 3 bridge and see if maybe I can find the remnants of the old Germanna Ford down here. Let's see if we can find anything. Okay, well there's the Route 3 bridge. I don't see any easy way for me to go any further on this side of the bank anyway, so what's kind of interesting is out there in the middle I see some what look like remains of an earlier bridge. As a matter of fact, in the middle there it looks almost like a stone pier from the old days. So I don't know, I have to look on some of the old maps and see what I can see if I can find anything out about that. But as far as a crossing here, like from Civil War days, I don't see it, but it could be a little further. It could be on the other side of the bridge, on the downstream side of the bridge. But I don't see any easy way to get there from here. Well, I walked through that little open area back there, and look at this. There's a little bit more of a trail that gets me down to here. There's a bridge abutment from the old days. This is on the upstream side of the modern day bridge right there. This is a map of today's hike. It's two World War II era maps taped together. The upper half quadrangle is Germanna Bridge, 1943. That covers down to here, and then you'll notice that the color changes. And the lower map is Mine Run, 1944. The reason I picked these old maps is because they show the location of the Locust Grove Airway beacon. I'll explain more about that in a minute. Normally, as you know, I hike in Shenandoah National Park, but it's closed now because of the coronavirus lockdown. This area here is an area near the Rapidan River, and it's located on Route 3, which is runs between Culpeper, Virginia, and down this way takes you to Fredericksburg. It's not shown on this map, but right here in this area there is the Fort Germanna Visitor Center. So coming from Culpeper, I come down Route 3 like this, cross the Rapidan River, and then immediately turn right into a parking lot here. And you park your car and you just get out and you look for the red trail, which runs like this. This part of the hike is real flat along the bank of the river, and then when you get here close to this bend, there's a high bluff up here, so the trail turns away from the river and you climb the bluff there's an observation area up here on some rocks. And then down this side of the bluff and then up onto this ridge line and hike over to here. Now this is a rural road here, Route 601. When you get there, if you turn right and you come down here just a little ways, you'll see this little triangle here. Okay, and it says United States Coast and Geodetic Survey, Beacon, 1942, and there's a benchmark embedded in it, and the elevation is 377 feet above sea level. So I came over here and looked for that. Now, these airway beacons have been, for the most part, pulled out, but the concrete pad that it was sitting on is still there, so I show that. And then hiked on back like this. Also, right before I climbed the hill to go back to my car, I came down here in the vicinity of the bridge looking for the area where the Union Army crossed the river in this vicinity here during the Civil War. I really wasn't able to get over there far enough to look for it from this side. However, I did find the stone bridge abutment for the old Route 3. The new bridge, this is probably the old road right here. The new bridge is 4-lane divided highway, and they put that bridge in right about here. So I show the bridge abutment, and out in the middle of the river you can see what's left of a bridge pier out here. This was a nice little hike. Ended up being 4.8 miles, and the ascent was 649 feet. And before I sign off here, let me just give you a little more information about these airway beacons. These airway beacons were used for visual flight navigation before precision GPS, and even before the radio navigation, the VOR stations. It was before all of that. These were built starting in about 1923. The last of them was shut down around 1973. And there was about 1,500 of these airway beacons built across the U.S. So they would space them about 15, 20 miles apart. And so they were used for navigation, visual navigation, day or night in good weather. But of course they didn't do much good in bad weather. And they were constructed with a concrete pad, and then was a steel tower, usually 50 to 75 feet high. And it had a rotating white beacon, about 5 million candle power rotating white beacon. And then below that they had either green or red lights that flashed. I think the green lights were if there was an airfield there, and the red lights if there was no airfield. But they flashed the identifier of the beacon in Morse code. So by looking at the Morse code of the flashing, you could confirm which beacon you were looking at. Now, I saw an article that said that western Montana is still maintaining some of their beacons even today. Now, this beacon that I'm talking about here was called the Locust Grove Airway Beacon in Locust Grove, Virginia. And it was part of an airway that ran kind of to the northeast. As you came to the north, it went to the northeast. So if you look at these cities, you can see where it was. It was Knoxville, Tennessee, Knoxville and Johnson City, Tennessee, Roanoke, Lynchburg, Charlottesville, Locust Grove, and there's a couple of more until finally you get up into the Washington, D.C. air pattern. So that was just a little side trip I took, and you know, if you're interested, if you Google Airway beacons, you can read up quite a bit about those things. And that was the hike for today.